So today we're talking about one of my favorite books, one of my favorite series, and that's Mistborn Era 1. And especially the first book for me is just one of my all-time favorites. And one of the things that really makes that book just jump off the page to me is the crew. Kelsiers' crew. I mean, it's just, I love them. So today we're going to be ranking all the crew members, and we'll see how that goes. But before we get into the actual ranking of them, I just want to take a couple minutes and just talk about the crew and why they are so important to me as far as the story goes and everything like that. So one of my favorite shows of all time, I take that back, my absolute favorite show of all time, hands down, is Firefly. And if you don't like that show, you're wrong. But the show works for me mainly for the same reason Mistborn does. It's the crew. It's just that community, that tight-knit, working together, solve problems kind of thing. And I was watching one of the special editions because I'm a super nerd when it comes to Firefly. One of the creators of the show talking about why the crew is there. Not like what do they do, but like storytelling wise, what's the point? And what he said was that Mal, the captain of the ship, had been through a really intense and difficult war, a rebellion. He was part of a rebellion. And his crew, after the war and after he has to go back to normal life, his crew, each one of his crewmates represents something of his soul that he has lost. And so that's just something that's really stuck with me, because in Mal's crew on the TV show Firefly, he had Kaylee, the mechanic, which represented his innocence that he had lost. He had a priest on there that represented, his loss of religion. He had a professional companion on his crew representing the loss of intimate relationships that he has lost. He had a brother and a sister on the crew who were, trying to save each other and be there for each other, representing the lost family that he no longer had. A mercenary on his crew, representing that fighting spirit that he had. And it's a beautiful metaphor, but in storytelling form, the way you can use that to really dive deep into a character's psyche is just brilliant to watch, and it's also brilliant to read, and that's what Mistborn does for me. So the big difference with Mistborn is that while Mal's crew in Firefly represents things that Mal has lost, I feel like Kelsiers' crew is a representation of all the things that Kel could be, that he could give into. You have Vin that doesn't trust anyone. Lord knows Kel has every right not to trust anyone. He was betrayed by the person he loved and trusted the most. So he could be a very untrusting person, but he chooses not to be. He's got Doxson, who has a personal vendetta against the nobility. It is 100% personal revenge to him. And Kelsier swings that way pretty hard, but there's other things going on in the background. He doesn't completely give in to that. He's got Ham, who represents, you would think a fighter, but I see Ham as the family man. Kel could have had that. He could have had a family with Mare and that whole life, and he didn't get to. And you have Breeze, who is the nobleman of the crew pretty much, and that's a life Kel could have gone down. He could have just stuck with the thieving. He had enough money. He could have quit and just been living it easy and not a care in the world, but he chooses not to do that. And you got Clubs. Clubs is the one that's fighting against the Empire, but in a quiet, subtle way. And Kelsier could do that, but he chooses not to. Again, it's just all these different elements that you bring these people together for their differences, and their differences end up highlighting all the characteristic, features of Kelsier. And that is just a brilliant way to do character development, in my opinion. And it works out beautifully for the story. And with all that, I just wanted to rant about the crew for a little bit. So let's go ahead and rank all these guys and see who we like and who we don't like. Alrighty, so we got the crew down here. We're gonna, rank them and see what we can talk about while we're doing that. So first off, we got Breeze. Now, Breeze is one of my favorite characters. Just his, anytime you have a contradiction, I really like that in somebody's personality. A contradiction that makes sense. So Breeze comes off as arrogant, a jerk, doesn't care, manipulator. But at the same time, he does a lot of things that shows that deep down he's actually kind-hearted, caring, courageous at times, and a good person. So you have that conflict of how he seems versus how he acts, and that's pulled off very well, and he's very sarcastic, which I like. So he gets ranked, we'll say A tier. Vin, poor Vin. Vin goes through a lot in these books, and her story arc is probably one of the biggest one, just because she's one of the main POV characters. But I really, her character arc I like so much because we have such a massive change in her through the books, but it's not a quick change. It's not a sudden change. It's a reluctant change, which is a lot more realistic to me. Like, she grew up in a very difficult, brutal way that taught her not to trust people for her entire life. And then you throw her into a bunch of people that she can trust, her instincts aren't just going to turn off immediately. Even after it's proven that these people can be trusted, and it's proven that she is in safe, capable, trustworthy hands, she's still going to distrust them. That's part of her personality. It's part of who she is, and that's going to take a long time to change. And that reluctance to change in her is just, it's one of those things. It's like it frustrates you in part to watch it, because you're like, oh, you can see that these are trustworthy people. Just trust them. But then at the same time, it's understandable. So I'll rank her up at A tier as well. But do I like her more than Breeze? Now, this is likability. Maybe this should be like, who do I want on my crew? Yeah, I'd say we're going to rank this as who I want on my crew, top picks. And I actually would take Breeze over Vin. Like, Vin will get you out of a tight spot. Breeze will keep you from getting in one, in my opinion. Clubs. Again, all these characters have such a dichotomy of what you see versus what you get. Clubs, that gnarly old guy that doesn't care, gruff, get off my lawn. But like, he is one of the most courageous people in the entire series books. He's pretty awesome. I can't just put him all A tier. Clubs I'll put down there just because he's a little gruff. I got no other good reason to rank him low. Alright. Dachshund. He, as far as people I want on my crew, he is the crew. Like, he makes stuff happen. He is the organizer. He's the planning. He's what gets it done. Without him, everything falls apart. He's not really part of the crew, at least not initially. Where do I want to put Ellen? He is actually pretty, we're going book one, not useful. He's just not. He's a spoiled rich kid to begin with in book one, and that just doesn't really bring a whole lot to the crew as far as that goes. I love his character arc, but as far as like who do I want on my crew, not him. Ham, the philosopher. I would rank him actually just above Breeze, just because I like philosophy, I would want to talk philosophy with him while we're waiting on things to happen during the heist or whatever we're planning. Me and him would get along. And he can fight. That's also, I guess, useful, but mostly for the theological questions and philosophizing type questions that he asks. Kelsier. Those two, they make the crew. They are the crew. Kelsier has the vision. Doxson makes it happen. End of discussion. Zazid. Where do I want to put him? How useful is he? He has metal minds. That makes him real useful. I would put him up there with the A-team, which is S tier, but you know what I'm saying. Spook. I gave you your name. Isn't that enough? I'll put him with clubs. That's appropriate, I think. They're a package deal. Less useful than clubs, I think, but like he's a good kid. Kinda. See who else do we have here? We got two down here that are not part of the crew. I don't know why they're on here. Marsh. I'm counting Marsh as part of the crew. Marsh, he gets it done. He's core team. Like, he is willing to go that extra mile. You can count on him. He says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. This is, of course, early in the book, not later in the book, but still, I want him on the team. And then, Straff and Lord Ruler. D, I don't want them at all. They're horrible people. One of them you can't hardly even classify as people, I think, anymore, but still, I don't like either one of them. But yeah, that's my ideal crew. I want Kel, Doxson, Zazid, and Marsh on my team if I'm like going at it. If I'm stealing some ATM, those are who I'm picking. Vin would be nice, Breeze would be nice, and Ham would be nice, but they are, to me, definitely second picks. And then everyone after that is just, we could replace some of those people. I hate to say that, but we could. We really could. Yeah, what do you think? Who's your favorite of the crew, excluding Kelsier? Other than Kelsier, who's your favorite on the crew? Let me know down in the comments. I'm very interested to know who it is. And with that, guys, thank you for watching. Go check out some other videos. Subscribe, maybe. I don't know. But hope y'all have a great day, and I will see y'all in the next one.